Hello, my loves. Let me pin a comment. Happy Monday night. This is Sonia G. This is the MoonBabes Monday Night Live. We are going to be talking about astrology, what's happening in our solar system, what's happening in the energy all around us. You can see that I am winded. I just got done skiing. So, and I am also blinded by the light. Let me see if I can adjust it. So, hi loves, I see you guys. Welcome. Thank you for joining. I'm so excited. I don't even know what you can see behind me because I seriously am so blinded by this light. But I'm happy we're here. We're going to talk about all the things energy. So, where do we start? Hi, loves. I see you guys joining. So let's start with Saturn and Pluto because this is like a big deal. Saturn and Pluto conjunct in Capricorn. This is a big energy that's happening right now in our solar system. And it really is like a big ordeal because last time Saturn and Pluto were conjunct in the sign of Capricorn was like 500 years ago. It was like in 1518 or 1815, one of the two. I can't remember, but I wrote the exact date on my post. I have a thing with numbers and transposing, but it had to be 1518, right? Yeah. So point being, it was a really long time ago and a lot of things changed. It was actually during the time where it was like the whole revolution of belief systems. There were a lot of changes back then that had to do with religion, which is totally coming back up right now. And the last time that Saturn and Pluto came together in a conjunction, not in Capricorn, but in Libra, was 38 years ago. They have sometimes between 32 to 38 year cycle. Okay. So, Saturn is a planet with a ring around it. Pluto is, my phone is like, it's like feeling all the vibes. Hold on. Pluto is the outermost planet. We're a little crooked, but we'll work with this. Why is this happening right now? So Pluto is the outermost planet. And with that, Pluto causes the most dramatic force as it moves, okay? Because it's like all the way out. And so it's kind of like as it moves, it shifts everything, all the energy of all the other planets. So Pluto is the planet of death and rebirth. It's like the destructive, disruptive planet. And it's like Anubis. It's like the underworld, okay? Kind of vibe. And then Saturn is the great teacher. Saturn is like the big, it's like the big corporations, the big organized energy, the big structures, okay? It's kind of representing all of that, well, specifically in Capricorn. So Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn. So we're in like homeland for Saturn. Saturn is the great teacher. Saturn is the Lord of Karma. He is the one that tells you, have you learned your lessons, right? Like, let's dot the I's and cross the T's. We are not flying through this one without making sure that you understand. You can't pretend with Saturn. You can't hide with Saturn. It's like if you've been doing the work, then you get the check mark. If you've not been doing the work, you get sent back through the school, right? It's like the Lord of making sure that, I picture him with like glasses and like the time guy, like super just kind of like, it's this way, very much more rigid. And not so much with a sense of humor. Like when you start to kind of get to know the vibes of the planets, right? Saturn is structure. Saturn is like a professor, a very dignified professor that just wants to like teach you things. And there's a lot of like, if you go back to like Shakespeare, for example, or like philosophy, there's a lot of people that use the word Saturnian as like a more of like a satiric kind of theater, or like an energy that's like Saturnian. It means like an energy that's like almost dark. It's like really serious, really somber kind of energy. Okay, So that's Saturn. Saturn is also the great teacher. And like, as long as you work with Saturn and you do the work, okay, and you do your homework and you're on track and you're turning in your assignments, then you're golden. And that's how Saturn works. He's very much by the law. In Capricorn, it's the driver. Capricorn is like the go-getter. Like, we're going after it. We got to do it. So all of this energy together, okay, is causing this disruption of all things that have not abided by the karmic laws. There's a lot about this that's bringing up karma. So it's, if you haven't done the work according to the laws of Saturn, then you're going to come up, like, you're reaping the consequences, so to speak. So what was 38 years ago was like 1982. I think I'm right on that. So think about, this is like the smaller cycle that we're dealing with, okay? So we're closing out a karmic cycle that started in 1982. So whatever you have been has been the underlying thing of your life. It's like, it's a huge harvest of whatever has been planted in your life all the way up till now. And there's a huge shift, like there's a huge lifting of energy that can happen. Kind of like all of the work that you've done, the universe is like helping you through it to rebirth through on the other side, right? So if you're feeling this on the good side, it feels like a rebirth. It feels like all of this weight of all of these things that you've worked through is done. It's closed. Chapter done. You have read the book. You have passed the motherfucking tests, right? Like, you are done. Like, you did that. It is done. It is a closed chapter, and you're getting on this whole other level. If there are things that were not checked off, that were not completed, that shit is coming up now like this. It's like, it needs to be dealt with, okay? So if there were things that you pretended to deal with, that you kind of sort of dealt with, but you put a Band-Aid on them, but you didn't really deal with them, right? Like, and a lot of it has to do with relationships, because there's a lot of Libra energy that's coming up. So this whole thing is, a lot of what's coming up has to do with relationships. What are you dealing with? The relationship with yourself, the relationship with your family, the relationship with your partner, the relationship with your children, like everything about relationships, because through relationships in this, 3D environment, well, and also later, like, but we do define ourselves in a lot of ways is through relationships, okay, and how we relate to one another in our community and our environment with who we're around. So if you're true to yourself, okay, if you're in alignment with yourself, and if you're true to yourself, which is a vertical energy, it's an energy that goes like this, okay, it's you, it's your energy line that goes to your higher self, that goes to God, angels, universe. This is like this. If you're true to yourself, then you are not able to be in any kind of relationship, friendship, any kind of connection that is not true for you. Like, that stuff is done. And if you are, and if you're keeping those ties, that is what's coming up. It's like in your face, right? And it's just kind of blowing up. So there's a lot of reevaluation. There's a lot of like, what are you going to do with this? Are you going to create karma for yourself for a whole other 30-something year cycle? So think this one through, because if you decide to hang on to that shit, it's sticking around, and then you're going to have to deal with the karma for another 30 years, okay? So is it really worth it? Big questions. And yeah, so it's really time to take that inventory. And whatever, it's, my mentor Gary has a way of saying this, and I'm looking for his words. He says, until you are done putting up with what you are currently putting up with in your life, you can't get to the thing that you really want, that is on the other side of your hangups, the stuff that you're currently putting up with, and it's waiting for you on a silver platter. It's something like that. Okay, somewhere along those lines. But until you stop, until you stop putting up with or succumbing to or being in resistance of or having these feelings that intertwine and just go all spiraling downwards and they keep you in the drama, until you're in there and you're not clear and you're not flowing, you can't get on the other side. You can't get to the thing that you really want in any aspect of your life because you have this negative energy pulling you back. So make sure you do the work. Okay, the lunar eclipse that we had, there was a lot of emotional stuff that was brought up with that had to do with fears. A lot of fears of not doing enough, of not doing it right, not being good. I mean, this week is the most dramatic week in astrology, if you follow any astrologers, that we've had ever since the beginning of the Gregorian calendar and astrology as we know it. This is the most intense week ever that has been recorded in astrology ever. So there's a lot going on. So if you're feeling a lot, if you're going through a lot, there's reasons. But this is why all of this stuff is coming up. It's a huge cleanse. So emotionally speaking, the moon, it was really a cleanse about the eclipse cycle that we had with the solar eclipse and then the lunar eclipse. It was really about cleansing out these fears. It's a huge release of fears, okay? And because of the way that the planets have moved and because of this conjunction, we're going to feel this stuff coming up through. This is generally with the lunar eclipse, it's hey, there's this huge release with a full moon lunar eclipse. But in this case, there's just so much shit happening that we're going to, things are coming up until the new moon. That's going to be a huge new beginning. It's a new moon in Aquarius. It's happening on next weekend on the 24th. To me, looking at the astrology, this is what really starts off. And it's very indicative that it's, the age of Aquarius, the Aquarian. This is the unity. This is the collective consciousness. And the moon is hey, let's take our awareness here. Let's take our emotional connection here. So it's a huge new start. So don't be scared if stuff comes up until then. Because we also had Uranus, planet of ascension, going direct. And that happened on the 11th. So we just had this week was just boom, 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 boom. So many things. And Uranus was retrograde until I have my astrology calendar here. Uranus was retrograde since August 11th. Okay, it's been retrograde in Taurus, which means it had us reevaluating everything about our belief systems, everything about what's important to us. Taurus is about wealth, beliefs, beauty, ruled by Venus, right? So everything that has to do with how we relate to the things that are beautiful in our life and the things that we value. And because Uranus being the planet of ascension, then we're looking at all the things that have to do with ascension and how we relate to that. So there's been a huge undertaking of that, which now all the information that we've collected is being delivered and it's being given to us. So it's we have all these things to look at, okay? And there's a lot of that. The Saturn and Pluto conjunction in Capricorn is really about all of these social structures that are about to start falling apart. Some of them are starting. Not necessarily just social structure, but just structures as we know them. I mean, the structure of the world, we're seeing it happen, right? We've talked about this being this huge energy, this huge upheaval of all forces of nature, and we're seeing it. I mean, look at what's happening in Australia. There's earthquakes, there's volcanoes erupting, there's fires. I mean, it's the earth is shaking up, right? What the hell is going on? And this is energy releasing. This is energy releasing from the earth because the transformation has to happen. Just like we are doing our cleanse inside. This is not to say that this is not, in effect, horrible things that are happening, but this is the earth's reaction to or action on all of these things that are happening. It's Gaia's going through the fires, going through the floods in her own spirit. So with that, sending lots of love to everyone over in Australia have my heart, all those animals and all the things that are happening. It's like, it's a lot. So, and there's things that are happening everywhere. So with that, structure's collapsing. So the things that we know in terms of like belief systems, in terms of governments, in terms of the things that we have been told since we were in school and all of that stuff, it's all coming up now. It's all about to be a big deal. And for a lot of people, it's going to feel like the floor that you walk on is like falling. It's not even a rug is being pulled under you. It's like just falling, because everything that you've grounded on is about to like shift, right? All the things that you think about, what's happening with our government, with our taxes, with money, with our music, with our TVs, like all of these things are about to be like opened up to a whole new level of understanding of how frequency has been used in a very controlling way on humanity for centuries, unfortunately. And a lot of people have an idea of it. It goes really deep. And those of us that are here incarnated on planet Earth feeling like, hey, we have a purpose to be here, we are clearing through. This ties into our blood work, our not blood work, but our bloodline work that we're doing, our ancestral lines, all the work that we're doing that goes all the way back to liberate. It's like revolution and liberation that goes all the way back through our ancestors and the things that they had to deal with, which are now in our DNA, in our blood, and we're working through them. We're unlocking all of these things. We're clearing them out. We're releasing them, and we're doing all this work from a system that has been kind of kept us wrapped in frequency control for a really long time. And so it's really not focusing on these news and all of these controversial things that are going to come up. It's about focusing on what we want. Okay. And so the key is not to fall victim of the, oh my God, I have been trapped in this system and we were slaves, or like there's a lot of that happening with light workers where you feel cheated, betrayed, right? From a government, from systems, from institutions. And the faster you can get through that, the faster you can be like, holy fuck, I got to move on from this. This is not the life I want, right? And yes, I'm using strong words because it does feel like that. It's like, oh my hell, these things are true. And they happen. And there's a lot of like dark sides of organizations are coming up. For example, and I want to talk about this because I've had questions. Wait, let me finish that thought. How do I want to say this? Let me think. So the point that I was making is you want to shift through, you want to focus your thoughts, your emotions, your effort, your energy on what you want to create, okay? Not in the drama of the things that are falling. So this is the trick, okay? We're here to continue the higher vibrations, to hold them and to build the new light structures. So we are like in charge of our new earth and of building a new earth. So if we go and feel into all of the dramatic things like, oh my gosh, well, this has happened, and of course this happened, and I can't believe this, and da 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 da. Okay, we are feeding into the old system. And I see so many memes right now that are trendy, and I'm like, this is awful. Nobody's taking responsibility for how they feel. They're like wanting to blame structures. They're wanting to blame things. It's like an external things. And there's a lot. I saw something today on Mantra magazine that I was so surprised. I was like, Mantra magazine is publishing something like this? This is awful. Because we're like falling into this victim mode and we're not realizing it. Okay. So you have to be very careful and very, very aware and very much in charge of yourself, claiming your sovereignty. Take responsibility for everything that happens in your environment, and then you will see how you become the creator of your own world, and that whole thing shifts, right? This is like a whole other level of things, but this is ultimately where we want to be. So then when things happen around you that are like destabilizing, it doesn't matter because you're sovereign onto yourself. You are in charge of yourself. You're in tune with your intuition and you know where to go. That's the most valuable thing that you can do. Okay, this is like the step that I teach you guys in my courses always, is to be in tune with yourself, with your higher self, to receive that guidance, to be in alignment, because there's nothing better that you can do for yourself, right? Because there's all sorts of people saying all sorts of things, but ultimately you have to know the truth for you, right? That's where the gold is. That's where the important part is. So with that being said, one of the things that I have been asked is about Kundalini, because I do love working with Kundalini. Now, I love Kundalini meditation, and Kundalini yoga is a different thing. There's a lot of things coming out about Kundalini being used for negative things. These are things that are going to start coming out for lots of organizations, lots of churches, lots of things, right? So Kundalini goes like this. There's white Kundalini, there's red Kundalini. Most people know about that because then red Kundalini is more tantric, it's more root chakra based, it goes into like tantra, okay? And most people know about that, but most people stick to like white tantra, white Kundalini, where we wear white. What a lot of people don't know about is that there's a branch of Kundalini yoga that goes into black Kundalini, okay? We don't go there. And it's a part of, if you follow through the lineage. So if you're ever in any of my courses, I pick meditations because I feel into energy. And so every time you do something that has to do with energy, like Kundalini, like yoga, like Reiki, every kind of energy discipline, you are a light bulb of energy, okay? You are emitting energy frequency. When you go into, for example, when you graduate from yoga training, all of a sudden they tell you this is your lineage. This is where you come from. This is your lineage, okay? And the reason why that's important is because the energy that you emanate, okay, that you give off, actually goes into that lineage, goes into and gets filtered through. If you got certified, if you got a degree, if you got a thing, right? Your energy follows structure. So the energy will follow that line unless you remove yourself from that line, okay? And you have to be very conscious of this. And then, so you remove yourself, you don't tune into, you don't feed into the energy lines that give your energy source, your energy power into the energy of these other beings, of these other people that came before you. So this is what's happening with a lot of organizations, a lot of religious organizations, a lot of organizations that deal with energy and energy work. This is the energy harvesting. When you realize that, we are sources of energy and our energy goes somewhere, right? So where does our energy go? That's important. This is why you always want to be in connection with your higher self. Be very clear that your energy runs between you and your higher self. It's this kind of a thing, right? That you're not just feeding random organizations, entities, or, whatever it is. Unless you're very clear that you're working with a council of light, unless you're clear that you're working, with beings that are helping you or things like that. But you have to get to a level that you understand. And this is like this next part. You have to understand where your energy flow is going. So that's why this stuff is coming up. And that's why it's very important to develop your intuition, to develop your multidimensional senses so that you are aware and you understand for yourself. You need to be the judge of things for yourself, okay? So that you can be in control of what's happening in your experience. And control has been a word that has been very much discredited in the light workers community, I feel like, or in the new age thing, because it's like, oh no, go with the flow. It's not about control. We're not talking about controlling other people, okay? Controlling other people is no bueno, but being in control of who you are and how your energy flows, that's key. That's called discipline. That's very important, okay? So you do want to be in control of your state of being because you're sovereign onto yourself. You don't want to give your energy to anybody else. You don't want anybody else to like be sucking it from you, right? I mean, a lot of us now, a lot of you guys that are empaths, for example, you are becoming very aware of the fact that there are energy vampires out there, right? You hang out with some friends and you're like, damn it, I'm so drained, and they just sucked all this energy, life force out of you. And that's what happens. That's what happens. There's a lot of TV programming, majority of it, that's done to suck the life force energy out of you, okay? It's literally done to suck the energy out of you so far out that then you are wiped, and it puts you in a different brainwave state to where you're not productive anymore, you're not ambitious anymore, you don't want to go and like connect with the higher frequencies, and it holds you here. It holds you in a lower vibrational frequency. Okay, that's why a lot of light workers, a lot of people don't watch TV, don't watch news, don't watch any of this kind of stuff, because you literally feel the frequency. It's like a noise, it's a frequency, it's like a radio channel that holds your brain in like a straitjacket kind of a thing. So you have to become very aware of these things. So this is the next phase that we're going to. Why is this important? Because if you take charge for yourself, if you take charge of your life and your surroundings, then no matter what news come up, what destabilizing things come up, you're like, okay, I got this. I can tune in. I know how to breathe. I know how to find my heart. I know how to connect up. I know how to feel supported by Mother Earth. I got my angels on like speed dial, right? Like, you're right. We're all together. We're all in it. Get your community on, right? With people that understand what's happening, people that will support you, people that you can be exactly who you are with, not people that you have to make excuses with. All those people gotta go. There is no more time, no more patience. They have to go through their path, okay? But at this point, our energy and our attention is required, honestly, truly, for the building of the new earth. Okay, because this is where we are. So together as light worker, we don't have time to pay attention to that stuff anymore, because our job is to hold together the frequencies, the light of new earth. We have available now on the grid frequencies anywhere between 5th dimensional, like 5D, all the way to 12th dimensional. Okay, the 12th dimensional frequencies literally hit Earth, and they are staying. We didn't know if they were staying or not. They are staying. Our grid is lit up like a Christmas tree, the most amazing Christmas tree ever, the most enlightened Christmas tree. And it's a beautiful grid, and you can tap into it, but you have to vibrate at that rate, right? So that means like you have to cleanse out of all of these other things in order to feel that connection, to tune into it. And it's a conscious thing. It's a mindful thing, but it's not just a mindful thing. Mindfulness is where you start, and then you become conscious, you become aware, you become in charge, and you do things very intentionally every day. You tune in, you connect in to the 12th dimensional grid, and you live your day in creation mode. Not reaction mode, in creation mode, okay? You are the creator of your experience. So this is what we're really stepping into as light workers. This is the year to do it. If you're not making the shift yet, to the degree that you have not made the shift into creation mode, instead of reaction, action, right? So instead of like responding to life, you create life. Okay, it's a shift. It's literally a structural shift. It's a paradigm shift. So instead of like starting your day being like, okay, what do I have going on today? Like, oh, my appointments, oh, my things, oh, these calls, oh, the kids, like, no. You start the day and you're like, what do I want to do today? Right? How do I want this day to go? How do I see this day to go? You start your day in creation, not in reaction, not in like that state. So this is the shift. We have to do it. We have to do it. We have to do it. This is the year. This is the decade. This is 2020. And you're going to want to do it because because you're going to want to, because the alternative is not good. The alternative is not good. And whenever you go into the other state, into the 3D state of being, right? This is when shit breaks down. This is when things don't work. This is where the dramas happen. So if this is where we get sick, like all that stuff. So if you find yourself in a series of events where you're like, what the is happening in my world? You're like, oh wait, this is 3D. This is not the world that I want to be in. Okay, stop, disengage, put the clutch in. Just done. Close that chapter. Do something to get you out of that mode. Abraham Hicks says, take a nap. Just like stop the momentum of that energy, right? And then get into creation mode. Like stop that momentum and then start building momentum in the direction that you want to go. Okay, so it's very important. I said on one of my posts recently, it's like, this is like mandatory morning meditation time. Okay, this is where we don't skip out on it. This is where it's like oxygen. You want to tune in, you want to connect. It's so important. There is nothing that is more important than that. I don't care how busy you are, okay? You got 5 minutes, you got 10 minutes, you got 15 minutes, you got 20 minutes. You do. It's just a matter of what you decide to do with your time. So this is a huge wake-up call. I know I'm getting my Italian fingers going, but I love you guys. And so that's why I'm telling you all these things. Because there really is a lot that's getting unearthed right now. And so this is how we can be prepared, right? This is how we can get to be prepared. There's a lot of things coming up that will have to do with like past lives that are going to start opening up. It's going to be past life. It's going to be past life contracts. It's going to be twin flame journeys. There's a lot of that energy. That's the next wave of energy that we're moving into. And so we really need to be whole. We need to be prepared for it. We need to be whole and done for. It's like we have to be done with dealing with our current lifetime experience. Okay, so whatever dramas, whatever things you have, clean them up. Do your best to move through them, because the stuff that we're about to be dealing with, it's not about this lifetime. It's about our whole generational lines. It's about our past lifetimes. It's about soulmates, soulmate groups, even twin flames. Like it's about all of these higher connections that we all came here with a purpose. Like we're really all switching into mission mode and stepping into who we came to be on the planet. So it's about to get like interstellar is what I'm trying to say. So do the work, wrap things up real quick. The big new beginning with a bang is coming up. It's happening on the 24th with the new moon. Speaking of which, okay, I'm going to do a weekend workshop. It's called 2020 Moon Cycle Manifesting and Magic. And the reason why I created that is because, which right now it doesn't give you a whole lot of information, but if you go on my website, you can see it. That's why it's like super discounted, because I just knew that it had to happen. I started looking at the movements of the moon for the cycle of 2020, and I was like, holy cow, if we can actually work emotionally through that energy ahead of time and knowing what's coming up, knowing the waves that are coming, planning for it, creating our experience through that, having an understanding of how to create that magic in our life, of how to manifest, right, by the moon cycles, which in MoonBabes Society, which is our monthly membership, we do that moon by moon. But what I'm doing with this workshop is, hey, let's plan it ahead, right? So if you're wanting to plan ahead for, let's say, the summer, if you want to plan a trip, know which energy you're working with, okay? The moon affects us so much. And I mean, we could look at the whole astrology, but the moon is what drives our feelings. And so I'm writing up a whole thing. So you're going to have it all printed out. We're going to have a 2-day workshop. So a 2-hour workshop where we're going to talk about how to work through all this. You're going to have a manual. You're going to have manifesting steps and creation mode steps on how to do all these things. And we're going to do a ceremony meditation for the new moon to start this, okay, with a bang. I don't know if we're going to do a fire ceremony. I think we're going to do a fire ceremony. So, where all of this is online, you get to do it live with me, or you can watch the replay anytime. But I really want to, my goal with this is to give you the tools that are needed to emotionally ride through this 2020 cycle. At the end, I think it's like November, maybe sometime in November, there's another conjunction where with Pluto and Saturn, I think, in Aquarius, where everything is like, this is like the major shift. So this year, we really want to like create through, because when that cycle at the end of this year comes to an end, it's like we're going to be ready for like, holy cow, right? So this year is so powerful that if we can do it on the higher vibrational field, then we're set. Like, it's like, okay, and here we go, and it's going to be up. And if we don't really do this, like, grab it, right, by the horns and like ride it, what's going to happen is we're going to continue catching our breath. It's that feeling where you feel like, I'm underwater. I'm just trying to get my head above the water. I'm just trying to get through this day. I need to get through this week. I just need to get through this project. I need to get through, right? So we have got to shift. This is the year that we shift out of that like survival mode into creation mode, into like blissful mode, into manifesting. You can't manifest if you're in survival mode. I mean, you are always manifesting. We're always manifesting because we're constantly manifesting what we have inside. When we say manifesting, generally we mean manifesting the things that we want, right? So if we are in survival mode, we're manifesting survival situations. When we disengage the reaction of that and we can switch to creation mode, this is where we manifest the things that we want to create in our life, right? And so a lot of it for me has been being able to plan ahead. No, because if we know, information is important. If we know that something is coming up, like for example, we all know how Mercury works, right? When Mercury goes retrograde, it's like, okay, hold up. We know communications get tangled. We know, Siri doesn't work. We know our maps don't go accurate. We know emails, technology has problems, right? Everything that has to do with communication, it's very evident. So knowing about it, knowing that it is Mercury retrograde, it's not a thing about blaming. I mean, we say those things because they're funny, right? I'm sorry for what happened while Mercury was retrograde, whatever kind of things. But the point of it is when you know, you actually give yourself room. It's like, oh, Mercury's retrograde, like we should do this. Or Mercury's retrograde, let's not have this conversation, this important conversation right now. Let's wait a couple of days, right? Or let's make sure that I'm really clear. I want to make sure that you really understand the message that I'm getting across. So knowing is the part that's important. So that you know how to adjust to make up the difference. And so when we know what things are coming up for us to deal with emotionally, because let's face it, we're emotional creatures, whether you actually deal with your emotions or not, they are there and they drive your subconscious, and your subconscious is what you manifest from. So this is why I'm looking at the moon cycles, because there's a lot of magic in manifesting by the moon cycles, which basically, what is magic? Magic is the power of create the things that we want, right? Like the things that we can't explain how they happen, so they're magic. That's why we call it magic. So, yeah, check it out. Go to my website. It's moonbabetribe.com, and then scroll down, click on 2020, moon cycle manifesting and magic, and I'd love to have you next weekend. The price is super cheap right now because I just barely put some information up while I was in Italy, and I was like, I knew I had to do this. So I put a little bit of information, and then tomorrow I'm going to update it, and then the price will go up. So check it out tonight, check it out tomorrow, if you're interested in it, and if it calls you, if you feel like, hey, this may be a good way of mapping out my year. Okay, message me if you have questions. And yeah, there's lots of other resources on my website too. If you've never done my free course, definitely check it out. There's free resources on there. There's all sorts of stuff. So we have things coming up. Knowing what to do, having the tools, having the understanding, doing the work, doing the ceremonies, doing the meditations, being in a community of people that is actually supportive of all of these things is super, super important. So don't get destabilized. Don't allow yourself to get destabilized with the news that come up. Just say like, okay, so this is what the truth of what has been going on. It's kind of like that feeling where you've been, but if you've ever been betrayed by your best friend, right? Lied to, cheated on, like that, those kinds of feelings. It's kind of like that feeling that's going to happen, except it's going to happen from like banks, corporate America, government, right? And you're going to be like, really? And so just don't allow yourself to get destabilized. Just know that, okay, there's stuff that was coming. I'm creating my world. I'm moving into new earth. This is like inconsequential, right? We deal with the things that we have to do in the 3D world, and then we stay in the 5D state of being. 5 to 12D state of being is where we live, okay? So I love you guys. I hope this was helpful. I can't really see if you have questions. At some point, my thing stopped moving, so... All right, let me see. I haven't gotten any emails all month. What? You guys? Message me on the side if you're not getting my emails. I love seeing all of you interact and chat with each other on here. I love you all. Yeah, we'll talk some more, and I'll upload this on YouTube so you can kind of go back and listen to it again. We had a good chat. There's a lot going on, and we really have to find your heart. Make sure you find your heart every day. Okay? I love you all. Check stories for more info on the 2020 moon cycle, magic and manifesting, and I will see you on here soon. I'll see you all on my stories. I love you. Mwah! Bye. Sylvia says, what a great live. Thank you. You made me laugh a couple of times. Yes. Good. We laugh. We go through it all together. I love you guys. Mwah! I will see you on the next one again. I'm Sonia G. This is the MoonBabes Monday Night Live. You can find me here at MoonBabes and the Light Tribe on Instagram, or go to www.moonbabetribe.com. That's my website. Make sure that you're signed up to get my emails. I'm going to send one tomorrow with like some good stuff in it. I don't know entirely what yet, but it's going to be good. They're always good. Love you guys. Mwah.